Okay, now some more generic questions here. Now, do you specialise in specific areas in gambling? And as you're successful, how do you manage to get on?
Well, definitely. I mean, in terms of gambling, I've done every kind of gambling. I mean, there was a time where I did blackjack card counting. There was a time where I was just massively doing each way burglary. That I literally never had a bet unless it was a bad each way race. There were definitely times where poker was my main thing, and I, 2007, I played 310 average 14-hour poker sessions in the year. So that's quite sick, really, if you think about sleeping and eating and stuff in between. Um, so yeah, I do change from one thing to another. Spread betting was a big passion of mine for a long time. After I stopped working in that industry, uh, I kind of stopped doing that really. But I mean, I used to do that every single day, and I would look at the spreads all day long and think about very little else. Um, there was a year in 2006. It was about an 18-month period where I literally just would spend 20 hours a day on Betfair, putting up markets and laying stuff. I was basically a robot without any software, um, and that was quite mad. I put on about 7 stone in a short space of time and made myself really ill trying to lose the weight way too quickly. That was a bad thing to do. Don't do that, kids. Um, so I do specialise, but I go from specialising in one thing to another thing. Right now, I'm betting a lot of football. I would say roughly half of my turnover is on football in a year. And that's purely to do with getting on. I do a lot of NFL. I would say that's probably about 20% of my turnover, and horses about 30%. And horses I've changed. I mean, it's certainly not possible to just open the paper at, you know, 9 o'clock and think, right, I'll just do all my bets for the day right now, and that takes 10 minutes. It usually, and I certainly don't consider looking at the racing the day before and trying to do some bets, because what's the point? You're going to get, 50 quid on, and the prices are going to collapse, and you're not really going to be very satisfied one way or the other. So I tend to try and bet later. I don't really have a bet on the horses much before noon ever. I tend to stick to the kind of races that allegedly people want to play in. So I really bet much bigger in the big meetings and on Saturdays, and midweek I probably just have a couple of token bets most days and don't really spend much time. Well, I spend time on it. I will still watch a lot of races, and I'm quite sad actually. I'll just have 20 quid in a race when I'm watching it, just for something to watch really, which is a bit sad really. I should be able to watch a race without betting on it. If I haven't bet on a race, I quite often don't even watch it actually. So that's a bit bad, because you should watch the races and try and learn for the future. But the racing the way it is these days, there's a lot of horses and there's a lot of races. There's too much racing, I'm sure. Um, but if you are betting mostly on Saturdays, you can focus on a smaller pool of horses. If you only look at horses that are rated 80 and above, you probably could save yourself a lot of time and effort, because in those lower grade handicaps it's quite hard to get on. And yeah, with football and American football, I'm it's the internet now. It's a worldwide thing. I'm sending money to all parts of the globe, basically. Use exchanges a lot, and I've basically tried everything. I mean, I still haven't found anything that's definitely working all the time. I mean, I used to send people to the racecourse. I used to go racing all the time. I used to send people out in betting shops. I used to get people to open lots of accounts online. I used to use all kinds of intermediaries. I've tried to cut down a lot of that now. I tend to do things that take. I want the time that I spend putting the bets on to take less and less, because it's quite annoying, and dealing with so many people is just. There'll always be somebody that lets you down.